Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And the Premier League season is here, just less than a day to go. And it's actually very, very interesting that Fulham and Arsenal is the first game early on, straight from the get-go. And I have two guests with me, a Fulham fan and an Arsenal fan. Let me start with the guest. Hi, Dom. Your mic is muted, sorry.
Can you hear me now? Is that good?
Yeah.
Not too bad. Not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Just looking forward to finally getting the season started tomorrow.
Awesome. Where can they follow you?
You can find me on Twitter at Radio Bets, or you can find the Fulhamish podcast at Fulhamish Pod on Twitter and on Instagram.
Awesome. And Zuhum back again, this time to preview Arsenal and meet you, Mike. How are you?
There we go. I also forgot about it, even though I saw Dom forget about it. It's so silly. I'm good. I'm ready for the new season. It's going to be... I thought it was a favorable draw that we got Fulham at the beginning of the season. We usually do well against them, so I'm happy with that. And I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I think this is going to be an enjoyable preview for me.
Since you've brought that up, before I get into that, where can they follow you?
Oh, right. They can follow me on Zuhum Omar at Twitter and also on IG. And soon enough, they're going to hear from me in something called the Nearly Footballers podcast that I'm starting with a fellow United fan. So, yeah, I'll keep you guys posted.
You're also on Fan Zone today chatting against a Fulham fan.
Yeah, I was actually. Yeah, that was fun. I was on the official fan zone on the section. I think the fan off. Yeah, the fan off. That's what it was called. I didn't know there was time. I didn't know it was being timed. I thought I gave better points, and I felt sorry for the Fulham fan because, you know, it's not exactly easy to preview a game against an Arsenal team and win in some sort of debate. But luckily for him, he won. He beat me with time, so good for him.
Awesome. Since you brought that up about not disrespecting Fulham, Dom, how do you normally prefer starting a season? Do you normally prefer starting, your promotion season? How do you normally prefer to start, against the big teams, or do you prefer going against the Leeds or Southampton?
I think, to be fair, I would rather have Arsenal at home than, let's say, Brighton at home, because Brighton at home is a game you probably want October, November time when you've gotten into the flow of the season and it's a game you can win. Playing a team against Arsenal, there's probably no pressure on us whatsoever to perform. The only pressure is probably from the fans, just so there's some positives to take from the game, really. I'm not saying it's a free hit, because no game obviously in the Premier League is a free hit, but you'd rather, if it was a game that, if it was a normal game in like the mid-season or in the final sort of towards the end of the season where you're expecting to win. For example, last time we had Palace at home, and if you analyse that for a season, that's a game, if you're a relegation battling team, that you want to win. Whereas I think taking on Arsenal, where it's sort of the pressure's off, whereas if you were taking on like a mid-table team, the pressure really would be on, because it's a game you really need to win going into the season.
Yeah, and do you prefer being home or away for the first game?
I usually prefer home, just because when the season starts, it's always great for your first game is going back to your home ground. But yeah, if for me, it's not. But it's behind closed doors. I mean, it's really not too much of an issue whether we're home or away. But no, a home game, first game of the season, I always seem to prefer. I always find it's a good way to start the season.
Yeah, Zohum, the last few games we've been underdogs in most of them. City, Liverpool, City again, I think. City again in the Premier League so many times. But how do you normally prefer starting a season? Against a City away like we did 2 seasons ago in the Emirates season, Chelsea away and City at home, or do you prefer having a promoted team?
I want to answer this question, and then right after that, I want to ask Dom a question as well. So, of course, you want to play against a newly promoted team. Arsenal traditionally have been very good against newly promoted sides. We've won 3 out of the 4 games and drew the 4th one. So traditionally, we do quite well against newly promoted teams. And maybe a lot of the times we do play at home against them, so there is that benefit. Arsenal tend to be really good at home against newly promoted sides, but Fulham away, there's worse away trips, in my opinion, than Fulham. But and I say that with all due respect. Please, I really don't hope. I really don't.
No, I
hope
don't.
I
I
think cocky. Yeah.
we all know it's going to be a tough season for us, and we all know obviously you guys had a brilliant end to your post-lockdown period. So
Yeah.
I think as I said before, I think all the good, maybe the positive for us really is that obviously all the pressure is going to be on you guys
True.
to perform, whereas so we can maybe sit back, soak up the pressure, and then if we take our chances, we take our chances. I don't think there's a sort of onus or a pressure on us to sort of go out there and attack you guys from the off. Like sometimes if we were playing like a Palace, we would probably need to.
Yeah. But I honestly find that so interesting that you're a Fulham fan. I don't talk to many Fulham fans.
Yeah, there's not too many of us, so
well, at least not in the areas that we live, in the regions that we live in. So, but I wonder if you look at the season calendar, right? All the matches, all the fixtures. Do you pick out certain games that you think there's no way we're getting any points? We could pick up some points here. We should be winning here or there. Is Arsenal away really a team to fear, traditionally speaking? I mean, on the away type of form that we can have, I think you guys can still be a bit confident, and I think you guys have the kind of players that can play football, that can play Arsenal. John Michael Seri, Mitrovic can take care of all the aerial duels that he'll be up against. So, just talk to me about that calendar, the fixtures. Do you pick out games where you think points can be given or we can get away with?
I think so you always do but one thing I always, especially if obviously there have been times where Fulham have been pushing up, mid-table when we're in the Premier League and obviously the mid-2000s. But when you're coming into the league or when you're fighting relegation, so probably like what West Ham are looking at now, I think you do look at games, but I think you look at runs of games. I think you look at a group of maybe 4 or 5 games where you think, right, we can get 3 wins, a draw and a loss, or 2 wins, 2 draws and a loss in here. You look at that. Obviously, there are games you look at. Then you sometimes you look at, there are often times where you get loads of big teams in a row, and then you've got that one home game against, let's say, I don't know, an Aston Villa or something sandwiched in between, and you look right, we have to win that game, and then anything we pick up against these top 6 sides, it's not necessarily it's a free hit and it's a bonus, but you just need to make sure you win that sort of game sandwiched in between. You can't look at sort of, because there's so many good teams in the Premier League now, you can't really talk about free hits, but I think back when it was like the big top 4, I think you would look at them home and away as, if we get anything, it's a bonus. I think now we're not expected to win, but it's not like it's completely out of the question that we can get a result, whether that's a point or somehow like a win. But I think what's going to be interesting is obviously all the games that Arsenal have looked so good in, you guys have been the underdog. And now the onus is on you guys, sort of take control of the game and not be the one to sit back and soak up the pressure. So it's be interesting to see how Arteta changes the team and the tactics to sort of adapt to that.
That's true.
Yeah. Dom, last season, realistically, did you expect to get promoted back to the Premier League straight away?
I think so. I think the aim was just promotion, whatever way it came, whether that was winning the league, coming second, winning the playoffs. I think that if you looked at the squad on paper and compared it to the other teams in the league, it was probably one of the best squads. So you would expect it. But then obviously it was Scott Parker, young manager, first full season in charge. Obviously, a bit. I was talking to an Arsenal fan on our podcast about sort of this. There's a few similarities, obviously, between Parker and Arteta in the fact that they're both former captains of the club. It's their first proper main job in football. But I think that you always knew we were going to finish in the playoff positions. It was whether we could make that push to get automatic promotion. Obviously, if that didn't happen, we came close. But I think promotion always was the aim. There wasn't saying, oh, we're going to get top 2 or we're going to win the playoffs. But yeah, promotion, I think, was the aim. And thankfully, in the end, we did that.
Yeah, and no one really expected you guys to beat Brentford. I think that done the double over you in the regular season.
Yeah, so Brentford's a weird one for us. So our record against them in the league domestically since we got relegated the first time in 13-14, it was quite poor, and I think we've only beaten them once in the league, and I think we've beaten them once in the cup as well. But despite all that, I was still confident going to the playoff final that we would win, because I feel like when it's a big game and when it's a final or a semi-final, I always feel like we turn up. And I don't think you can say the same for Brentford. And I think, because we'd won the playoff final at Wembley 2 years earlier as well, I think a lot of the players were still playing, Mitrovic, Tom Kenny especially, and they have that experience, and that was what dragged us over the line. And Brentford just have a sort of mental block when it comes to the playoffs. I think they've now been unsuccessful in 9 playoff campaigns in the last, 20 years or so. And I think just that is always going to be a big thing. And I think with Thomas Frank, I don't think Thomas Frank is necessarily a tactician who adapts his team to the team he's going to play. I think he has his way of playing and he wants to do that, whereas Scott Parker will adapt the way he's playing to the team who he's going to be playing against. And I think he did that perfectly against Brentford. Everyone was talking about their attack. Obviously, Ollie Watkins, he's gone Aston Villa. Said Benrahma's probably going to go to the Premier League. And obviously Mbeumo up top as well. And I think we just completely nullified the attack and then took our chances when they came. And that's what got us over the line.
Yeah, and for the transfer window, I'll come back to you, Dom. Zohom, are you happy with the transfer window so far? Do you think we can improve from last season? Of course, last season it was a very difficult and horrible season for us in the Premier League. Do you expect us to improve? How much do you expect us to improve?
Who's at Arsenal?
Yeah.
I think so. What I think is, I think actually the season's being so close is probably going to help you guys, because you're still going to have that momentum from the FA Cup final, from the Community Shield. Like I think you'll be pushing for the top 4. I don't know whether you'll be able to make it, but I think you'll definitely be being competing for those places. And I probably think you'll maybe just about all fall short, but I think it'll be a good season. You've got to remember it's only Arteta's first full season really, and I think there's a lot of things to be positive about. I think tactically you look a lot better. I think you look more like a club again. You sort of just look like a collection of players under Unai Emery. Really, when Unai Emery came, you didn't really know what you're going to get. And I feel like with Arteta, there's some sort of philosophy there. There's some sort of personality to the side. And it looks like all the players are happy to play for him. I didn't see that under Emery. You saw sort of that towards the end of the Wenger era, I'd argue. So I think the future's bright for Arsenal. But I think one thing is just making sure, obviously, you see this season as a progression. And then the next few seasons after this one are the ones we can really push on and obviously get back to the top, because obviously the comparisons always get made with Klopp at Liverpool, but it is a similar situation. I mean, they were in disarray when he took over. I know they had that title sort of push under Brendan Rodgers in 13-14, but I really think Arsenal are on the up. It's just a steady progress. You don't want to go in too far. Obviously, you've brought in the 2 new centre back. Obviously, Saliba signed last season, but he's back. He's now in the squad. You got Gabriel who's come in as well. Interesting to see how they do, because obviously centre backs been an issue at Arsenal, it seems like forever. And obviously you're rumoured to bring in some centre midfielders, and I imagine this Aubameyang deal is going to get announced, and that's probably the best sign you can probably make this window. But no, I've been impressed with Arsenal post lockdown. I'm interested to see how they do. I mean, out of all the sort of big London teams, Arsenal are probably the one I dislike the least. I dislike Chelsea, and obviously, and I dislike Tottenham more. So, I'm always, and obviously you're Arsenal. I grew up with you. The Invincibles winning doubles, and it's weird. It's weird seeing sort of teams who you've seen be so good with players like Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, sort of finishing 8th, 7th in the league. It's crazy. But I think this season is just sort of more of a season of progression for you guys. But I do think you will challenge for those top 4 places. I just think you'll probably fall short. But then, being Arsenal, you could probably get to another FA Cup final and end up winning that again.
Yeah, same question for you, Zohum. Last season, how much do you expect us to improve from last season?
I think Dom made a great point in terms of the tactical approach that we'll have. We'll be under a little bit more pressure to get on the ball, create more chances, be on the front foot. And I think that was our Achilles heel last season. But Mikel Arteta, I don't think, had the right players to really unlock a tight defense or, a low block that Fulham might employ against us tomorrow. But in Pepe, he was our highest creator in terms of chances with 40. And we've got Willian now as well. So he had 77 chances created, much higher than Nicolas Pepe. So I think he's gotten added the right amount of creativity and the right profile of players to play the kind of football he'll want to play. I don't think the 3-4-3 or the 3-4-2-1 is his preferred formation. I think just like Pep, he'll want to use a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. And the likes of Özil now back, it seems like they're training. It looks like they were being blocked out by Raul Sanllehi, who wanted to sell them. But as soon as Raul Sanllehi leaves, Arteta claims that these players have a new chance, or rather, a clean slate. That's the word I'm looking for. So it's going to be interesting to see how we approach containing Fulham in their defensive third. So I don't know. I'm very optimistic, because I feel like now Arteta, with the transfer window, he's bringing in the right kind of the right profile of players. Obviously, we brought in our two largest center backs in recent years, 6'4" and 6'3", respectively, for Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. And it looks more likely that we're going to sign Houssam Aouar. It looks likelier that we're going to sign Houssam Aouar compared to Thomas Partey, who's a bit more defensively minded. And I think Houssam Aouar is the kind of player we need. We need someone to connect our midfield and our attack, our front three. I think that's why we played well as the underdogs, because that formation allowed us to counterattack. And we had the right profile of players to counterattack. Xhaka could ping the balls across diagonal. We had obviously Dani Ceballos, who could do the same. And going forward, obviously Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. I mean, he's surely the informed striker in the Premier League. And just like Dom said, the Premier League just ended a few weeks ago. It doesn't feel like it's too long, and he can carry on that great form. So, yeah, man. I think I'm really excited to see what Arteta will do in terms of Arsenal and their possession. I really don't hope we keep the ball like the latter years of Arsene Wenger, where we keep the ball, but we're very boring to watch. The passing was slow. We looked like we lacked creativity and ideas. So yeah, man. Hopefully, like Dom said, the players seem to play for the badge and for the manager now. We call him manager, no longer first team head coach. So, like Dom said, very, very positive signs for a very good campaign coming up.
Yeah, Dom, last time you were promoted to the Premier League 2018-2019, you literally switched up the whole team. You got Joe Brand from Bristol, you got Andre Schall, Babel, Seri, Chambers from Arsenal. Did you want your team to do the same thing and expect different results, or are you happy to stick with the same team that got promoted?
I think if you look at our transfer business so far, there's definitely a different approach being taken. We're not spending big amounts on players. We're signing in players in positions that we need to sign players in. So if you look at our signings so far, we've got Anthony Robinson in from Wigan at left back for around £2 million. And, we needed a left back last season. I know Joe Bryan scored 2 goals in a playoff final, and that's great. But throughout the season, there were times where his place in the team was questioned. But the problem was we didn't have another left back to come in. And so, I think bringing a new left back in is good. And, he looks like I spoke to one of my friends who's a Wigan fan, and he was telling me that I think he can play in the Premier League. I think he's got Premier League quality. If we signed 2 central midfielders, obviously we got Harrison Reed on a permanent deal after he was great for us last season. And I reckon if he didn't get that injury throughout the season, we could have probably pushed for top 2. He was so key in that holding midfield role. He sort of just make the entire team and midfield click, really. And obviously got his teammate Maro Lamina in from Southampton as well. I don't really know what you're going to get from Lamina. I don't know whether it's going to be, the Lamina we know that can play, or is it going to be the Lamina who doesn't turn up? I think one thing I will say is that every player who seems to has had attitude problems, let's say that in that way, whenever they've come to Fulham recently, they don't seem to have it. Everyone talks about Mitrovic and people might call him a walking red card, but ever since he's come to the club, he's never got one. So I think, we've definitely turned him down. He seems to like it here. So maybe we can do the same thing with Lamina. Then obviously we got Areola in from Paris Saint-Germain as a goalkeeper because our second choice goalkeeper, Marcus Bettinelli, went on loan to Middlesbrough. And what I like to see is him, and it's a bit like a situation you've got Arsenal where you've got two goalkeepers who are good enough to be your number one. And so we've now got two goalkeepers who will both be challenging for that number one spot, and that's only going to push them on further, hopefully. We got Kenny Tete on at right back in from Olympique Lyon yesterday, and we do need a right back. I mean, our right back options have been quite poor ever since we lost Ryan Fredericks when we went up in 17-18. Cyrus Christie and Dennis Adoy weren't good enough last time, so I can't see them being good enough this time. And then just before we went live here, we got Olaina, I think it is, from Torino, former Chelsea player. And again, he can either play at wing or at fullback. So it's definitely, we sign players, but when you're promoted, you can't just stick with your team. You do have to bring players in, but we're definitely going about it in a more sensible manner. Loan deals, small fees, and players who will accommodate what we've got already and not just replace them, which I think is the mistake we made last time, because I think it just totally messed with the team cohesion. You have players coming in on 100k a week contracts, and you still got these players who work so hard to get us up on like 20, 30k a week. So for me, I think we've definitely gone about our transfer business in a better manner, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with these new players. And I'm looking forward to if we bring any more players in. I think if it was me, I'd probably want maybe a centre back if we're lucky too, and then maybe a forward, so someone who can play back up to Mitrovic or play out wide. We're linked with Josh King. I think that'd be a great signing, just because Premier League experience, can play out wide left, can play, he can play the front two with Mitrovic, and then we get a centre back in as well. As I said, I think that'll be our transfer window done.
Yeah, speaking of goalkeepers, also last time in the 2018 season, I think you signed like 3 goalkeepers and you rotated between like 4 goalkeepers through the season. How important is consistency this season for you guys?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, I think in like the first 10 games or something, we played like 5 different back lines or 10 different back lines or something crazy. But yeah, Areola we've gotten from PSG, which is a good signing because Rodak was great for us, and he was probably our player of the season, maybe second behind Mitrovic last season. But Areola, he's won everything. He's won the World Cup. He's been at Real Madrid. He's been at Paris Saint-Germain ever since he's a kid. I think although he's not been a first choice goalkeeper in a lot of times, and he is 26, 27 now, so you do expect him to be a first choice goalkeeper somewhere. He's been given a number 1 shirt, so you expect him to, I don't know if he's going to start tomorrow, but you expect him to be pushing for the number 1 spot. What's probably helpful is also there's potentially 3 League Cup games this month, so we can test the waters between the 2 goalkeepers. But yeah, no, as you said, if we look at last time, we had 3 goalkeepers. You had Bettinelli, who was a goalkeeper when he got to see, he came through our academy. All the fans love him, but we all know he's championship quality at best, and he's probably not even like a high caliber championship goalkeeper. He's probably your 6th, 7th, 8th sort of level goalkeeper in the championship. Then we brought Fabri in from Turkey, the Spanish keeper. I think he's still hanging about the squad somewhere. And then Sergio Rico was our main goalkeeper in goal, and he nearly ended up starting the Champions League final for Paris Saint-Germain a month or so ago. So yeah, I think especially for any team, but especially for a promoted team, stability, especially at the back. I think at the back and in goal is key, where you have stability, because if you keep chopping and changing, of all sort of lines, you want a back line to be the most sort of playing together the most, because you need fluidity there. And I think Scott Parker's going to do that. All the players seem to be buying into his plan, and obviously he just signed a new deal, so the club definitely do believe in him.
Yeah, Zuhum, of course, he brought up Martinez and Leno. Just one name. Who are you going to start tomorrow?
Leno.
And what tactics are you?
It has to be Leno.
And what tactics are you hoping Arteta uses for tomorrow and for the whole season, formation-wise? Back 3, back 4. Do you want Tini as a centre back? Do you want us to play attacking football most of the time, or possession football?
So yeah, for sure. Tomorrow against Fulham, I expect to see a back 4. I really want to see Willian or Ozil being played as a number 10. I want to see Aubameyang maintain his position on the left-hand side and Lacazette up top. I also feel like amidst all this speculation with Lacazette, I really hope we improve the amount of chances we create. We also improve the quality of the chances we create, and hopefully that helps maybe give Lacazette that kickstart to regaining that confidence and his form, because he can be a deadly striker, but more often than not, he lets himself down. And that will need either a 4-3-3 for me or a 4-2-3-1. If we play a 4-3-3, then Xhaka, obviously, with Ceballos, and maybe someone like Saka or Willian in the extra third position in midfield. But if we play a 4-2-3-1, it's a little bit more straightforward. You can play Willian right in behind the striker or Mesut Ozil. And I really want to see Pepe start. I want to see what he can do in the second half of the season. I would also expect to see Bellerin at right back. I know there was a bit of speculation with PSG and Maitland-Niles. Obviously, initially we wanted to sell him, but then we clearly changed our mind. So hopefully Bellerin still maintains his right back position, because I think he's a better right back than Maitland-Niles at this point. I think Maitland-Niles probably could use a few more months getting ready for that position, because whenever he was deployed as a right back in a back four, he seemed to struggle compared to being in a back five as a wing back. So, and I know this seems risky, but I really want to see our two new boys, our two new center backs in a back four. I don't know. It's risky, coming to the Premier League. It's a different kind of intensity, and obviously they're going to have a big challenge ahead of them, trying to battle it out with Mitrovic. He's treated like, he's going to win a lot of the 50-50s in the air. He's going to look to be crossed to. He's going to expect the crosses in. So it's going to be a physical game for them. But I don't know. Throw them in the deep end and let's hope for the best, see what they're made of. And then maybe Arteta can rebuild their confidence as we go along the season. So, yeah.
Yeah, Alex in the chat says, shout out to everyone in the chat. Alex, Cookie, Lewis, Liam, Marcus, Sweetie, everyone else. Cookie. Alex says, we are usually not ready for seasons at beginning of the season. Do you think we are ready this time around?
Oh, he's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah. He says, all I know, usually Arsenal are not ready for the season.
So a lot of the times Arsenal aren't ready for the season because, we had Arsene Wenger, who's been there for so long. You always knew what you could expect out of him in terms of tactics, in terms of how he manages the team. So it was always an issue of the squad itself, the players and the right profile of players. I think for the most part with Arteta, why it's so different is he, regardless of the holes that he needs to plug in his system, he still manages to work around the issues of the squad and the type of players that he has and their profile. So I can expect him to prepare us better than in the last few seasons. But I still agree with Alex, that we still need to sign one more player, in my opinion. Ideally speaking, it's two kinds of players: an actual holding midfielder, more dynamic, like Thomas Partey. But for me, creatively speaking, that's the most important thing. We really need to fix up in terms of creating chances. Remember, like I said, 16th in created chances in the Premier League. That's our lowest since the 1990s. It's ridiculous. So it's not something I'm used to as an Arsenal fan. And that's why, for me, it has to be the creative side. We need to sign that kind of player, the Hussam Aouar profile kind of player. So I think the season largely, we're mostly prepared. I mean, we've gotten center backs. We're covered at fullback. I mean, we're gonna let go of Kolasinac, but Maitland-Niles can play left wing back as well. In central midfield, we seem okay. We have Dani Ceballos back on loan. Granit Xhaka's there, and Mohamed Elneny looks really good. I know it was just one game in the Community Shield, but he was very clean, very neat, kind of like Scott Parker himself. He was a very neat central midfielder. So, and he was aggressive, a bit more aggressive than Mohamed Elneny, but still. I think Mohamed Elneny would offer a very good midfield option in terms of our squad depth. He adds more squad depth quality, so to speak. So yeah, and up front with Nketiah, I'm not convinced yet with Eddie Nketiah. I still need to see more of him. A lot of the goals that I see him score are very poacher-like, headed goals, tap-ins, good movements in the box, but I need to see more of him technically. And I know he spoke about it. I don't know if you guys heard. He spoke about it. He said, I was in the gym. I was working on my technical ability, but I still haven't seen it. So I'm willing to give him time, keep him as a good squad depth option in case Lacazette gets injured. I actually don't want to let go of Lacazette because I feel like Arsenal fans who expect Lacazette to be sold, they think it's going to be easy to replace his caliber of a striker in this market. And I don't think Eddie Nketiah is ready for a starting berth, or maybe to have the weight of expectation in terms of goals for the rest of the season. I don't think he's ready for that. So yeah, I'm happy, man. I think we're quite ready. I think if I were to give you a percentage, I'd say about 80% ready.
Yeah, Alex, your question has really, really been answered clearly there.
So thank you, Alex.
Dom, what tactics are you hoping Parker uses this season? Are you hoping for 4-3s or 0-0s defensive solidity, or are you hoping to attack more?
I think defensive solidity, that's what we were sort of not doing in the Premier League last time, but what Scott Parker really sort of installed in our team, sort of after, especially post lockdown. We weren't a team who would sort of blow teams apart. We were a team who, once we get that 1-0 lead or 2-1 lead, it'd be very hard to stop us sort of losing that lead. I think, we only won, I think, a game by more than 2 goals, maybe 2 or 3 times in the second half of the season. So I think defensive solidity is where Scott Parker is going to build the team from this season. And that's what I want to see, because last time we're in the Premier League, as much as the football in the Championship was great under Slavica Jokanovic, as soon as we got to the Premier League, we were completely wide open. Whereas I think Scott Parker will know that he has to build from the back this season, and he knows he's got a striker in Alexander Mitrovic, who, even when we were absolutely terrible last time, still scored 13 goals in the Premier League. And 13 goals in the Premier League for a team who finished on like 20 odd points in 19th place isn't too bad. So I think he knows we've got a goal scorer up top. And I think Mitrovic is really going to want to prove to everyone that he is a Premier League striker, because all the Fulham fans know he is. And I think obviously there's still some sort of people questioning him, obviously, from his time at Newcastle. But I think for us, it's going to be built on defensive stability. That's why I think a lot of the signings you're seeing us make, they're not attacking players. We're signing right backs or wing backs or holding midfielders, because we know we've got quality up front in Mitrovic. We've got wide players, the likes of Ivan Cavallero, who's played for Wolves in the Premier League, Anthony Knockaert, who's played for Brighton in the Premier League. Yes, they weren't great last season, but I do feel like it is going to be sort of let's hold out teams and then maybe get a goal on the break. It won't be right, we're going to try and play you at the same game. I think it really is for us going to be about, let's see if we can sneak a 1-0 win here, or let's say against Arsenal tomorrow, let's see if we can get a 0-0 or a 1-1. So I'm really looking forward to sort of seeing how we set up. And I can see us sort of deploying a bit like Arsenal did last season in different styles. I think, maybe at home, if we're playing like a Palace, a Brighton, a Villa, these games where you're looking at getting 3 points, we'll probably play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 like we did last season. But if we're playing a big team and looking to sit back, and I can see us playing maybe, a 5-3-2 or, a 3-4-3, whatever you want to call it, because, one thing I would say is actually our fullbacks are probably more suited to being wing backs, the ones we've got. The ones who definitely get down the line, want to whip the crosses into Mitrovic. And if we can get our wide players, further up the pitch, it means more balls has been going into the box for Mitrovic to get his head on. And I think if we can get a centre-back or two over the line, playing a 3, I'm not saying we should play it all the time, but I think in the bigger games against the better sides, it might sort of work in our favour, because I think in our centre midfield options, we've got some good all-round midfielders, the likes of Harrison Reed and Mario Lemina that we signed. Anguissa's coming back into the team after a year away on loan at Villarreal, where he did very well. So we can see what he did, because he didn't exactly live up to his £30 million price tag last time. He had Josh Onomah, who didn't start last season great, but towards the end of lockdown is probably our best midfielder. So I think, yeah, as I said, defensive stability, and then sort of get the ball through the midfield, and then basically trying to get the ball into Mitrovic and get on in. Because if the cross is coming here, you'd expect him to head it into the back of the net. But one thing you do see with Mitrovic is everyone talks about his aerial presence, but his aerial presence is more knockdowns as opposed to scoring headers in the box, if that makes sense. The goals he scores are a lot of the times, inside the 15-yard box or inside the 25-yard or inside the 25-yard range of his feet. But the aerial presence he does is all about bringing the other players into the game to then play the ball then back out wide to then pass back into the box for Mitrovic to score. So I think the aerial presence is more about winning those duels to bring the rest of our team into the game, and then our players sort of hitting the ball across the box for Mitrovic to score. But yeah, no, I'm going to be very interested to see how Scott Parker sets up tomorrow, especially as the way Arsenal play, and Arsenal are going to want to have majority of the share possession, whereas last season we were a team who would have a lot of possession, but we wouldn't necessarily sort of carve teams to pieces. And if we get done the counter-attack and then we went in the head, we were very good at defending that league, but we'd still keep a lot of the ball, but we'd bring more defensive players on and sort of try shore it up. So I'm interested to see sort of how both teams set up tomorrow, because obviously you're going to have sort of switch the way you've been playing, and we're going to have sort of switched the way we've been playing. So it will be quite interesting to see.
Yeah. Everyone in the chat, if you have a question for Dom, Fulham question, just send it through. We'll answer them at the end, or any Arsenal question for Zoom. Back to you, Dom, again. Who are the players to watch apart from Mitrovic? Which other two players do you expect to be important in keeping you guys up?
So I think one player you've got to look at is Harrison Reed, just because he's so key at the base of the midfield, and he's a very tenacious player, and he doesn't do anything too fancy. He'll win a tackle, then play it into the better technical players like Tom Kearney or Josh Onomah in the midfield. I think he's going to be key. And another player I think that's going to be key is Michael Hector, because we need to see whether he's Premier League ready. But what he changed our defence when he came into it in January. We couldn't get his deal over the line in the summer, so we had to wait until January to make his debut. But ever since he's come in, our defence looks so much more stable. He was such a big leader at the back. He's huge. He's a big aerial presence. He wasn't necessarily the greatest post lockdown as he was before it, but we've seen what he's like, and I think he's better than any defender we probably had when we were in the Premier League last time. So hopefully he lives up to that. But yeah, Michael Hector and Harrison Reed beyond Mitrovic are the other two players I'd look out for. I would like to say someone like Anguissa or Lamina, but we really haven't seen enough of them to say that. So going off last season, yeah, I'd definitely say Harrison Reed at the base of our midfield and Mitrovic at the back. But going forward, I definitely think Mitrovic is the only real threat there for a team of the quality of Arsenal.
Yeah, Zuhum, last time we traveled to Craven Cottage, of course, we had that big win. Are you expecting something similar? And who are the players to watch for you from Arsenal, apart from, of course, those two on screen right now, Aubameyang and Lacazette? Your mic.
I usually mute it so that I don't interfere with Dom's... yeah, sorry. Anyway... Yeah, I think I don't expect a rout, as some would say, or as some would predict. I don't think we're gonna win by a big margin, like a 3 or 4-0, like the last time we were there. I think it's gonna be a more solid performance, and Fulham will feel maybe a bit unlucky with the results. They probably expect a performance that they can be proud of, and maybe they'll think that they deserve at least a point. I think that's what I could expect, especially because I'm hoping we play that new system, the back four, and that would allow us to settle with it rather than just, I don't expect us to just run rampant and just click immediately. It's going to take a bit of time, but I think Willian would be my player to watch apart from Lacazette and Aubameyang. I'm really interested to see if he's going to be a bad purchase, another bad purchase from Chelsea, with all due respect to David Luiz. But yeah, I really hope he clicks. I really hope he improves the way we attack, the speed at which we attack, the speed at which we keep possession of the ball. Sometimes I feel like the passing can be too slow, too predictable, and I'm hoping he brings that risk taking, those risk taking actions. Like 1-2s, trying to beat a man and cross the ball, just being a bit more adventurous and creative going forward. So yeah, I think Willian is my player to keep an eye on. But obviously, if Ozil plays, I mean, he's a big name. So if Ozil plays, then both of them are players to keep an eye out. So yeah.
Would you actually start Ozil tomorrow?
I'm tempted. Honestly, I really am. I think Arteta could probably find a way to play him. And remember, he did play the first 10 games of Arteta's career, and that's a third of Arteta's career so far, because he's only managed about 29 games. So yeah, I think if I'd like to see Ozil play, because I really want to see what they can offer us, and I think we need to see players like Ozil and Willian prove that they can do the job for us before having to dip into the transfer market again. Remember, we do have until October 5th. So if something doesn't work out, we have time to assess that and analyze why it's not working out and go for someone else. So yeah, I really want to see immediately if Ozil and Willian will work out at Arsenal, because we need creativity more than we need to shore up our defense, in my opinion.
Yeah, Dom, just a quick one. What would be your starting 11 tomorrow? You guys.
So I expect us to stick to the sort of system that we've been playing in the Championship. I don't think Scott Parker is going to go straight in for a 3 or 5 at the back. So I'd imagine Rodak will start in goal. I know we've signed Alphonso Areola, but I don't think he'll come straight in. I think he'll probably play him in the League Cup game first and then maybe bring him into the team. So I'd say Marek Rodak in goal. We signed Tete from Lyon. Sorry, if he's ready to play, I'd play him at right back. Then centre back partnership, I'd expect Michael Hector and Tim Ream. Left back, probably Joe Bryan. Obviously, we signed Anthony Robinson, but I expect him to keep with Joe Bryan. Then I probably have Harrison Reed at the base in the midfield. Going by what Scott Parker said in his press conference today, it doesn't look like Anguissa is going to be sort of ready to start right now. So I'd probably have Tom Kearney. And then ahead of him, I'd have Josh Onoma. Obviously, I have Mitrovic up top. And then in the wide positions, I'd probably have Anthony Knockaert on the right and then Niskin Scabano on the left-hand side.
Awesome. And Zuhum, starting lineup for you for Arsenal. Of course, Luis is injured, so we're really short defensively.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with what I hope to see, not what I expect to see. And I hope to see a back four, Leno in between the sticks and Kieran Tierney, left back, obviously. Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes at center back. I know that's a bit hopeful. And then Bellerin at right back. And we go into a 4-2-3-1. So Xhaka, Ceballos, Willian in behind Lacazette, and Aubameyang and Pepe on the wings.
Awesome. And prediction time, Dom. What is your prediction for tomorrow?
I can't comment here and just say Arsenal are going to beat us. So I'll be somewhat positive and say might be able to scrape a 1-1 draw.
Okay, and Zuhum?
I think I want to be confident and respectful, so I think a 2-0, but Fulham will be proud of their performance, and I think there'll be a lot of positives for them.
Just before I get into the last questions from the chat, Dom, what is your expectation for this season? What represents a good season for you guys?
Obviously, a good season is going to be staying up. I think it is going to be tough. Any team that wins the playoffs, it's always going to be tough for them to stay up because they're technically the third worst team going up. But I think everyone's expecting us and West Brom, I'd imagine, to go straight back down. So I think it's going to be tough. But my prediction is we'll be much better than we were last time we were in the Premier League. We won't just be us. It won't just be us and Huddersfield being the whipping boys, and Cardiff as well. So I think we will be in the mix of the teams to avoid relegation. So I don't think I think it's too tough to say whether we're going to stay up or not right now. But what I would say is we're definitely not going to be 10, 15 points adrift. I do think if we go down, if we stay up, it's going to be by the odd point to maybe 5 points at the absolute maximum.
How about you, Zoom? For Arsenal, what represents a good season for Arsenal?
Top four and winning the Europa League, so that top four and winning the Europa League, so that we get get our hands on some European silverware. So that would be a great season for me. That would be as good as it gets, because remember Arteta did say to Willian that he expects to win the Champions League in 3 years. And that's the right kind of mentality. That's the right kind of mentality I expect of my manager. And that's the kind of thing that, reverberates throughout the squad. So, Europa League and, top four. I don't care how we end up in the top four. Remember, Chelsea were very consistent in the top four this season, and then they still finished fourth behind United. I don't care if that happens to us. As long as we're finishing the top four and win the Europa League, I think we've had a great season. Yeah.
Question from the chat. Dom, who do you believe could be an unsung hero for you guys?
I think, obviously, he won't. If we're looking at sort of the wider Premier League fan base, looking at our team, obviously everyone looks at Mitrovic. But I think unsung hero-wise, I'm going to say Harrison Reed, just because I think he's so key at the base of that midfield. And if we are going to, stay up or at least push to survive, I think him dictating the play at the bottom of the field, win the ball off the opposition and then playing it to our more advanced, sort of technically gifted centre midfielders, I think he's going to be key to any chance we have this season, just as how key he was, I think, in our playoff run. That's why I think that. So, because we got the permanent signing of Harrison Reed over the line, I'll go with him.
The home unsung hero for Arsenal?
I think Granit Xhaka. I think if we do eventually move to playing in that 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, the amount of responsibilities he'd be tasked with would reduce. I don't think we'd expect to see him quite high up the pitch. I think he'll be told to sit back and just control play in that holding midfield role, in that defensive playmaker role, and I think that will benefit him the most. But most importantly, it's his attitude. I think you guys saw him show up at training, even though he wasn't meant to train, but he just wanted to be in and amongst the group. He really does seem like a very positive player for the dressing room, and I like his honesty. Remember back in the day when it wasn't back in the day, more recently, when we we drew to Watford 2-2 away from home under Unai Emery. He came out and said to the reporter, he said, we were afraid of Watford, and he was honest, and that was the first big clue to knowing that things weren't right in the dressing room, things weren't right with the manager. But now under Arteta, he looks fearless, just like the rest of the squad. He looks confident. He looks like he makes a slight mistake, but he makes up for it immediately after, because he still wants to get on the ball. And I think he's going to be our unsung hero this season.
Cookie says Holding or Chambers. Who would you sell between Holding and Chambers? So?
I think Fulham would love Chambers, no?
So last time we were in the Premier League, he was actually our player of the season. I'd take him as long as we're just not playing him at centre back. I think.
Okay.
So. When he played for us, his best position was actually holding midfield. Weirdly enough, when we moved him into our midfield, he played so much better. I think when I saw him play in defence, I was like, he's not lasting many more games here if he's going to play like that. I think he had one game at right back where he was quite poor as well. So for me, I'd take Chambers, but I'd have him being a rotating holding midfielder with Harrison Reed. I wouldn't be having him in our defence really. I'd take him, and I think the reported fee was £12 million, and it's not that sort of money isn't for someone like Callum Chambers. As much as he was good for us last time, it wasn't hard to look good in our team. But I do think that it just doesn't. As much as I would like to see him back at Fulham, it just doesn't seem to be the type of transfer we'd be making in this window.
So yeah, I agree, and I think he was good enough to play at right back and at centre back as well. So any team that actually buys him, they'd benefit from his versatility, in my opinion. But yeah, fair enough. For me, I'd still sell Callum Chambers. If Fulham don't want him, that's disappointing. But yeah.
Last questions, Dom. Do you expect Arsenal to finish in the top 4?
It's a tough one. I want to say yes, just because I want to see Chelsea completely fail this season. But I think you can. Whether you will, I mean, that still remains to be seen. But I definitely think you can finish in the top 4, because if you can beat Liverpool twice, you beat City twice, you're beating Chelsea. These are all the teams who are going to be fighting for those positions. I think your problem is obviously going to be playing a team like Fulham or playing a team like Palace or Brighton, whoever, where you seem to have been turning up against the big teams recently. So it's just changing that, or turning that mentality into playing these lower teams. And if you do it, you can. I mean, you're going to need squad depth, especially because you're going to have both domestic cups. You're going to have the Europa League, but I can't see why not, because Chelsea are going to take time to gel. Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Ben Chilwell, this new goalkeeper, Thiago Silva. It is going to take time to gel. And Lampard, I think Arteta's a better manager than Frank Lampard is. So I think that for me, it's going to be a big on Chelsea to actually perform. I think that I'm not saying there's no pressure on you guys, but there's not as much pressure there is on you to get in the top 4. There's more pressure on United because, yes, they had a good end to the season, but they need to be closer to Liverpool and City. So I think, although there is pressure on Arsenal in that sense, I do think that you could maybe not. I'm not saying you're going to sneak in, but no one's expecting you to be there. But I do think come next season, regardless what happens, I think you will be in the Champions League, whether that's winning Europa League or finishing in the top 4.
Also, give me your top 4 and your bottom 3.
So top 4, I reckon it's tough to look past Liverpool again. I know they haven't made too many signings, but that team was so good, then do they need to make more signings? And I think they're going to be motivated. Pep Guardiola, as much as he needs to do well this season, I think there's more pressure on him than ever, especially after that Champions League exit. And I think it'll be closer between them two, but I still think Liverpool, unfortunately, will pit City to the title. I'll put them, and I'm going to put Manchester City second. I'm going to put Man United third. I'll put you guys in 4th, and we'll leave Chelsea down in 5th. And then down bottom 3, I can't come on in and just say we're going to get relegated. So I'll say West Brom to finish bottom. 19th, I'm going to actually go for a fairly big shout here on West Ham. They're in disarray right now. Mark Noble calling out the ball for selling Grady D and Garner to West Brom. And then in 18th place and last one, obviously it's going to be close, but I'm gonna say I'll say we'll survive and Aston Villa will end up going down, because I'm still not confident on them. I think they got very lucky to stay up last season. I think it was more Watford bottling it than Aston Villa playing well enough to stay up last season. So yeah, I'll say Fulham are going to stay up, and we'll go for a bottom 3 of obviously West Brom, West Ham, and Aston Villa.
Awesome. Zuhum, just yes or no questions. Do you expect Fulham to finish above West Brom?
No. But I want them to. I have to say.
Yeah.
I want them to. Craven Cottage is a legendary stadium, in my opinion, in terms of the Premier League era for me. So, yeah, I want them to.
Do you expect them to finish above Leeds?
No.
Do you expect them to survive this season?
No.
And then give me your top 4.
No, it's fine. I think it'll be a very big shout.
I'd be happy if you did.
Yeah,
I'd be happy if you did, because you guys have bowlers, and you have it's a good young manager. So I'd love to see you guys stay up. And obviously, for me, Craven Cottage, just seeing that, it's going to be nice to watch Arsenal play. That's a great stadium. So yeah.
Lastly, give me a top four and
Right.
bottom three.
Yeah. So top four, I think City are going to beat Liverpool in the title race, but I think United. Chelsea are going to finish third. I think Lampard can get the most out of them very quickly. He seems to work well with young players, and I don't think there's going to be much of a language barrier between him and Timo Werner and Kai Havertz or even Hakim Ziyech. So I think they should click quite quickly, but I also expect I expect Arsenal to finish fourth. Like I said, those are my expectations, and I think we'll just about make it. Just about make it. It's going to be a close call, but we'll just about make it. Going down, I think Fulham are going to finish 18th. Crystal Palace, I expect to finish 19th, and like Dom said, West Ham 20th.
West Ham in last place. Why? They have so many good players.
I know they have good players, but I mean, we're Fulham had good players when they went down. But if there's something wrong in the fabric of the club, it usually finds a way to creep into the rest of the club. I mean, I hope I'm wrong, right? Because you have great players in Mikel Antonio and Felipe Anderson, like guys like Lanzini. But I don't know. I'm just not impressed by Pellegrini. David Moyes. He's come in, he's been solid, but I'm just not impressed.
Yeah, awesome. So that was the Fulham against Arsenal prediction. Thank you to Dom for coming in. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Radio Bets. And if you want to find the podcast where we're chatting everything Fulham, and so on our YouTube channel, you can find us at Fulhamish. We did a preview with Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV, so some Arsenal fans might find that interesting, talking about the game. And if you want to find us on social media, it's at Fulhamish Pod, and that's on Twitter and Instagram.
So make sure you guys go and subscribe to him for Fulham news and all that. Zuhum, where can they find you?
At Zuhum Omar on Twitter, at also on Instagram, and that's about it for now. But I'm following you immediately, Dom, right now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks to the guys for coming on. Thanks for everyone in the chat. I have all my links in the description. If you want to join my fantasy league before tomorrow, there is the code on screen. If you want a direct link, you can click on the link in the description. That was Fulham against Arsenal. Thanks for watching again. Keep staying safe, and I'll catch up with you guys later.